We've got David Rotundo, who's going to be playing live at the Ale House tonight. He's backed up with Dan Dufour, and we're going to hear some live music and talk to David right after the break. Sure. His name is David Rotundo. You may have heard that name before because he played the Limestone City Blues Festival last year. He's been invited back this year. He's been called one of the top 10 blues performers in Canada. And he blows a pretty mean mouth organ.
I'm supposed to be out of breath, Rick.
What's that, sorry?
I'm supposed to be the one out of breath.
Yeah, well, I just ran down
I know, you're right.
to get some water because I know I'm going to be dry after talking to you. Well, welcome to K-Roc.
Oh, cheers. Thank you for having me.
Really good to have you here. And welcome Dan, who plays the guitar in the band. And just before we get to your music, and that's what we're here for, we're going to hear some, and we're going to hear a little bit about how you started the music. I want to go back farther than that.
Sure.
Because I used to be a reporter, and I'm a little nosy, so I want to know. I think you have to know the person a little bit and their background and their roots to find out why this is a passion for you and why you're doing it today. So you grew up in Toronto.
Grew up in Toronto, yeah.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about your early music you were listening to and what just about you.
Early years, I had I have 3 older brothers.
Okay.
And they were, they always had albums kicking around. Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, all those guys, Supertramp, The Doors. So I listened to all that stuff when I was growing up. And, I was exposed to it really young, 10 years old. I was already listening to this stuff, and it grew on me, and I loved it. So that was my initiation in music, all the old classic rock.
Now, is there any music in your family, your parents, or anything like that? Or
my mother was a piano player, but that wasn't so prevalent. It was just more, what my brothers were bringing in and stuff like that. So I was listening to a lot of that, the old classic rock.
Okay, now let's get into the music. Things really started going for you in your mind that I want to play this music when you were at the El Macombo back in 1991, and you were listening to a performance by the legendary harpist James Cotton, and you were saying you were just blown away by the first note he blew, and then as soon as you heard that was it. You knew you wanted to play this thing.
Yeah, it was very surreal even to think about it today. I could feel the night almost. It was so it started a bit before that because I was listening to Zeppelin and The Doors, and these bands always. I loved this classic rock. And but then at one point I thought I want to know where this came from, this music came from, and I want to go before it. And it all pointed to guys like Muddy Waters and John Lee Hooker and Howlin' Wolf and Sonny Boy Williams, and I'm listening, like, these names just sound mythical, like Muddy Waters, who's John Lee Hooker, like, who are these guys, Sonny Boy Williamson, and I investigated and I went back to that stuff, and it just, immediately strung a chord when I bought some of those old albums. Then I started to go out and listening to the live blues, and before I even bought a harmonica, I went to see James Cotton at the El Macombo, and like I said, man, he just blew one note, man. I said, man, this is what I got to do for the rest of my life. And, I remember turning to a pretty girl who was right beside me, and I said, this guy's talking to me. And she didn't. She thought I was out of my mind. What are you talking about? Why am I not talking to her more than anything? Like, what am I doing? This is what I come up with to say. But it was that type of feeling. It's almost like being bitten by a snake. That venom goes to your heart, and that's how powerful it was.
A lot of blue. I think it's because it's a very passionate music, and if something hits you, and you go, yeah, I want to do this. I was doing a little bit of research, and I know not near as much as you do, because I know you're a bit of a blues historian, and we'll talk about that. But I was reading the story about James Cotton, and he was influenced by Sonny Boy Williamson. As soon as he heard him on the radio, back in the late 40s, and Sonny Boy Williamson had his own radio station. About 48, 50, somewhere in there. And he said, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, he actually, just to add the parenthesis, he ran away from home when he was 12 years old and showed up at Sonny Boy Williamson's door saying, I'm an orphan. But it was a lie. He said,
I read that.
Yeah, can you take me in? But he really just wanted to learn how to play harmonica.
But he never lived with them.
So
I made that whole story up, didn't he?
For some reason, a lot of these things are very mythical. It's like reading the Odyssey, you never know what is actually true. But it was, alleged.
So you say in your bio, after this El Macombo experience, It's out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
You grabbed a whole bag of harmonicas, and you headed all over to the States. And you were down in Memphis, you were down in New Orleans, you were in Chicago. What were you doing?
Yeah.
Going to the clubs and learning this business?
I had to go see the real thing where
Yeah.
it came from, so I did. I put a bunch of harmonicas in a bag, and just, you know, a little duffel bag with a couple of change of clothes, and hoboed around the States for about 2 months, and went to all the dangerous places, of course, where this stuff was born, like New Orleans, Clarksdale, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, you know, Chicago, you know. And,
how long did you stay down in the States?
as long as I could last, as long as until my dollars ran out. So
Yeah.
I was there for about 2 months,
Is that right?
and it was, yeah, it was great. I mean, it was a real historical, you know, one-on-one lesson in sort of the blues world.
Now let's go ahead in time a little bit. 1997, it's David Rotundo and the Blue Canadians. You did a lot of gigs in Toronto. You started to get some recognition, and we're playing with the likes of Ronnie Hawkins. And I hope I get this name up because I've not heard of him. Jack de Kaiser.
Yeah, Jack de Kaiser.
Jack de Kaiser. You say he's one of the best guitarists in Canada.
One of the best
all
actually
this-
in the world. He's very understated. The guy is incredible, and he played with Ronnie Hawkins when he was 17 years old. You know, that's to show how much of a master this guy is. He's really, I mean, you know, it's amazing the talent we have here in Canada. But yeah, Ronnie Hawkins was a great, unbelievable experience, because he's just such a huge guy in the music world. I mean, he was at the last waltz, you know, like with guys like Bob Dylan and Neil Young and Eric Clapton. I mean, he's just a big staple in Canada. So it was a big learning curve, and I started that in '97. Yeah, my own band.
A lot of experience playing with these guys. I think.
Yeah.
And then things blew wide open for you in 2001 with the release of a highly acclaimed debut album called Blowin' for Broke. Now, you wrote every song on that, and there's 12 on it, right?
Yeah.
And then Shane Scott, who's your bassist, luckily, he's an engineer,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Kind of nice to have that.
Yeah.
So he produced the whole thing for you.
Absolutely, very talented guy who was, my bass player, right-hand man at the time, and, you know, very talented. He did, all the production for that, which was great.
And then we move up to 2003, and you go back in the studio under a new name, David Rotundo Band.
Yeah.
Was there a change in membership? Or
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
The first guitar player that I worked with, we started out the sort of Blue Canadian blues band, and then, he went a different direction, and so I thought I'd just retitle it.
And that album was called Blues Ignited. Probably still selling well.
Yeah, it's a very popular album, from some of the songs on there, yeah.
Now, you've got a brand new CD out. You just gave it to me here. We haven't heard a lot about it yet. This is kind of a surprise, and we're going to hear some treats tonight at the Ale House. I bet you're going to play a few cuts off this one.
For sure.
Yeah, it's called No Looking Back. Tell me a little bit about the process in putting this one together.
It's, again, largely based on early blues, but more in a different direction. It's heavier than just your basic traditional blues. It's very rock edged. So like early Zeppelin-ish, early Black Sabbath type thing. It's very hard hitting, hard driving guitar, hard driving electric harmonica.
So a little bit different, maybe.
Bit of an
A little
evolution,
bit
maybe
different
there,
here now? Yeah, so more like you've got, the blues and the old blues, and now you're saying you're sort of melding that with more of an upbeat kind of...
I guess it's kind of a circle, kind of leading me back to, the Zeppelin and the early Doors and Hendrix and stuff like that. But so it's a funny evolution.
Yeah.